Have you ever wondered what it's like to be a Peace Corps volunteer? Waking up seeing the sunrise over the peaks of Peru's Andes Mountains, to teaching English in rural villages in China, all the way to doing agricultural work in Cameroon, Africa. Well, hi, I'm Sarah Whitworth, and I'm a returned Peace Corps volunteer who served in Qingyi, Guizhou, China. My cohort was the last to serve with Peace Corps China before our program was prematurely discontinued. Then, like all other Peace Corps volunteers from around the world, we were evacuated due to the global pandemic. And I'm the host of Piece of Action, which is a bi-weekly podcast where Peace Corps volunteers, current and former, can share their stories, debate topics, and create change. Here we'll discuss what Peace Corps is, what volunteers do, and to dive, not die, into understanding the Peace Corps experience. For more information or to get involved, follow us at peace.of.action on Instagram or send us an email at peaceofaction.ny@gmail.com. And just an FYI, I'm not sponsored by the Peace Corps or the US government. So come get a piece of the action. I'll see you there. Well, hello. This is Piece of Action with Sarah Whitworth. And guys, episode number 1. Here we go. I'm with my good friend Graham Kilpatrick. He's from Peace Corps Cohort 25, same as me. And let's get started. Let's dive in.
Thanks for having me, Sarah. Super excited.
Oh, I love him.
I love you.
All right. So, I guess let's just start with the beginning. Why did you join Peace Corps?
So I joined, I guess in our cohort, there was like a very, I feel like most of the people in our cohort were right out of college, and then maybe 15% had worked for a year or two, done something else, and then came in, and then we had like the two people who were much later in life,
yeah.
I feel like.
For sure.
And I was in that smaller percent of people that had done some stuff right after college, and was interested in Peace Corps a couple of years later. Peace Corps is something I was always kind of considering, and I had 2 jobs post grad that I was just not really having a good time. They were 9 to 5, so they were my first 9 to 5s. One was at a law firm, one was at the Italian consulate here in Chicago, and did not really love either of them. And I really missed trying new things. I spent 1 year studying abroad when I was in college, and I loved it. It was the most fun experience I had until Peace Corps, but also like the most challenging. So I was just ready for, an opportunity to challenge myself and to try new things and also give back, but I really do think most of the reason behind Peace Corps was me wanting to challenge myself.
Did you choose Peace Corps China, or it was like send me anywhere?
I did choose Peace Corps China. I was trying to think strategically about my career as well. I definitely wanted to go to a country and learn about another country and another culture that I felt like I could leverage into future career goals as well. And I felt like China was a very strong contender in that.
I feel that. Well, I traveled abroad before, like in Wuhan of all places.
LOL.
Yeah, COVID. Just kidding. But not really.
It is 2021 right now, so we made it through. We're vaccinated.
Heck yes.
Anyone in the future is listening to this.
For real though. But after that, I fell in love with China, so I was like, oh, perfect, check.
Totally. After being there for, the 8 months that I was there, such admiration for it's beautiful. It's an absolutely beautiful country. So, and I have so many fond memories there.
No, for real. Okay, what was your first experience when you arrived, I guess? We can do
Oh my gosh. Okay, the first thing I remember, so we had like a 17-hour flight, and just the way the time zones change, we missed like an entire day of our lives. I remember thinking like, we're leaving Saturday. We left LA like Saturday morning, and then I knew that we had our first training on Monday morning, and I was like, oh cool, we're gonna get there, we're gonna have a day to like settle in, meet new people, it's gonna be really fun, I'm really happy we have that time. No, that day was gone. That day is lost in history. We arrived at like, we landed at midnight in Chengdu. There was an earthquake seconds before we landed.
Oh my god, I totally forgot about that.
Yes, there was that earthquake. And then we landed. And then the entire flight, we had a connecting flight from Seoul, South Korea to Chengdu. And that entire flight, I was sitting next to a lady who was returning to Chengdu. And she was super nice, but she wanted to chat the entire time. So I was like, oh my god, I was doing the head back and forth, like trying to stay awake because she was talking and she was so nice. And so I was exhausted, and we landed. Very ironically, I ended up sitting next to on the bus the girl who ended up being my site mate in the future, Beth.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so Beth and I sat next to each other.
Oh my God,
it was,
I love her.
We hadn't showered, and 17 hours, it was like we're tired, hadn't showered, we were just chatting, and we were both very tired, but we definitely hit it off in that moment, and we got brought back together a couple months later, well, I guess 10 weeks later when we got our site placements and whatnot.
But it felt like forever, for sure.
It did.
Lifetime.
Really a lifetime we spent during PST, and then a lifetime during our first semester, and then a lifetime since we were in Peace Corps as well. So it's been several lifetimes really since Sarah and I met. And yes, I just remember getting to the hotel and the Peace Corps staff knowing, just like, I guess they'd been doing this for 25 years, and they knew like these people are gonna need food, they're gonna need water, and they had like bananas, apples, like a little snack bag, and like water bottles just like in our hotel room waiting for us. And I was like, oh my god, thank you.
Thank you, Peace Corps family mom.
Yeah, I just remember being like, that was very smart of them, that really helped. So and that was my first impression, being like, okay, these people really know what they're doing. And it was a good feeling. It felt very organized. I felt very like overwhelmed being in a new place. I think over the Pacific is when it really hit me. Like, oh my god, I'm moving to China for 2 years. I'm like, what the fuck? Thinking it was 2 years. We were only there for 9 months. But yeah, and I remember that it really hadn't hit me until I was halfway through the flight. So.
Feel that. No, for sure. I remember just like sitting on the plane just getting drunk.
Yes, that plane ride was... Didn't you sit behind me?
Oh my god.
I feel like you and Michael sat right behind me, and then
you might have been next to us, because behind us there was a family who they hated me and my group, because we were like laughing, like, shh. And I'm like, oh, we didn't even take off yet?
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm having a good time.
That was a long flight. Misery. Once you hit 4 hours, you're like, oh, only 7 more? I can do this. You know what I mean? I'm like, I'm also never complaining about flights to California. Again, 4 hours is nothing compared to flying to the Pacific.
No, they really push
Pacific.
you.
Yeah.
Push your limits.
That was something else, but we made it. So.
We did. What about training? How did you feel about, PST? How was your PST experience? So for anyone who doesn't know, PST is pre-service training, and that's just, they help doing cultural awareness, language and things like around that, just to get you really set up for success, really. And I agree with you, Graham, like that they really set us up for success, and you really do feel like they're trying their very best to really, make sure you succeed and make sure you stay full term. Absolutely.
So obviously we were in China and we were education volunteers. So a big part of our PST was TEFL training. We had 2 weeks?
I feel like it was longer.
No, sorry, our 2-week practicum.
Oh yes, 2-week practicum.
Yeah,
yes.
we had a 2-week practicum when we were in there, where we taught all day. Was it 2 weeks or the 1 week? Maybe it was just 1 week. No, it was 2 weeks.
No, it was definitely 2 weeks, and they come in and they watch you, and they literally are like, because prior to that whole thing is every day is just
hours of TEFL training
and language.
Yes.
So it's you do 5-6 hours of language, and you're like, okay, I'm so tired.
Hour lunch break, and then a little shioshi.
Oh yeah, shioshi.
Miss the shioshis. They were great. Shioshis were like a cultural, like just like a cultural break.
Cultural nap time.
Yes.
You do not bother anyone in your shoshi time. It's like go sleep, go eat some lunch, and then you come back, and then another 5 hours of language.
Yes. Pretty rough, but
R.I.P.
Yeah.
Where are you? You in AYJ, right?
I was in AYJ.
How?
I don't know what it stands for, but I loved it. It was, I think it was maybe like a preschool or kid. It was some sort of like younger child education center, and it was just closed for the summer. So the Peace Corps rented it out. We had one main classroom, no AC, so it was very hot. Actually, we did have an AC. We did have no, we did not have an AC. Our site manager had an AC in her office, so we would go in there and chat with her for like 20 minutes at a time, so we could stand in the cool air. But they had like fans and windows and stuff, so it was okay. But Chengdu is humid. It is hot. It is thundering, like storming every day. But also, I loved it. I have the fondest memories of our time in Chengdu. It's a time when we were all together, which feels very special. We were with our host families, which is a totally different dynamic versus being at our sites, because during PST we stayed with host families at our sites. At least most of us were by ourselves.
Speaking of host families, so who was your host family? How did you feel about your host family? And tell me any stories you know.
Sure. Absolutely loved my host family. It was a man, Gia, his wife Annie, and then Gia's parents. His parents, they lived there too, and then they had one son named Gabriel. Gabriel's actually an American citizen, which is very cool. So I'm really hoping he's coming to the U.S. again one day, and I'll be able to show him around. So my first interaction with the host family was a little bit nerve-wracking. So it's almost like when you get off an airplane and there's somebody waiting for you with a sign. I think that's kind of what they did at my site, at least. Sarah, do you recall your site? Did they do this at yours?
Yeah, well, I got off like a bus.
Okay.
And then she was just ready. She was like, "Oh, I know that's her." Because they had a picture. And like, yeah, she had a picture of me, and then like I knew only her name, and I was like, "Who's EE?" And then I met her, and then instantly I was like, "Oh."
Yeah, I remember.
Love her.
Yeah, some families came to the Kaoyuan. Am I saying it wrong?
Yeah.
It's been a minute. The hotel where we were at for part of PST, and part of our training was there throughout the time. And yes, some families went there. Other ones, like other training sites, went out on a bus to another part of the city and met the host families there. So I met mine at AYJ.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. And they were all in a room. They all had signs that had our names on them, and then we had to go and find them. And I was one of the last ones to find mine. And it was Annie. Annie could speak some English, but not that much. And she was immediately thought she was super cool. She rode up on a motorcycle. I was like, okay, so sick. Also, everyone in China, and also like lots of other countries in Asia that we went to. Like motorcycles and mopeds are like way more popular and common, I feel like, than they are here. But my immediate thought was, okay, she's super cool, but I have no idea what's going on. And I was like, am I going on the moped? Am I going on the motorcycle? I'm like, we just had our Peace Corps training, and part of that is like a safety seminar, and they were like,
never,
under no circumstances can you get on a moped or a motorcycle. Immediate ad separation from the Peace Corps if you get caught. So obviously did not want to do that. I was like, what's going on? And then she brought me outside to this old man who ended up being her father-in-law, but I had no idea because she wasn't telling me this, and because she couldn't speak English, I couldn't speak Mandarin, and I actually cannot remember his name. I feel really bad, but
Grandpa.
How do you say grandpa in Chinese?
WIPO?
WIPO?
I'm pretty sure. Don't quote me, guys.
Yeah.
But it's been a minute.
WIPO, I hope?
I think so, WIPO.
WIPO.
Mm-hmm. But that's like, it's like different for if it's...
Father's father versus mother's father. Totally.
Yes.
Well, Gia's father was there as well. And he, I believe, drove us. The family had a car, a very small car. I was in the front seat next to him. I had all my bags in the back, 3 suitcases, and all this gear that... Actually, no, we didn't get the gear yet from Peace Corps. Peace Corps gave us like 2 duffel bags each of gear.
Jesus.
That we were responsible for moving to site by ourselves. Not the best, but, you know, we made it work. No idea where we were going. I had really used all of my... you know, survival languages. Hi, my name's Graham, but in Chinese. I think I said how old I was. I said I like fruit or something. That's really all I knew how to say. And he was really trying to talk to me, and he would use small words, but it just was not computing in my brain at that point. So I had no idea what was going on. I was like, oh my God. The next 8 weeks are going to be so hard. But we get to our house. I realize he lives there because he like followed. He wasn't just like a cab driver or something. We like he walked up with me. He like opened the door. Clearly he lived there. I was like, okay, cool. He's putting all these pictures on the wall, trying to explain stuff. I'm like, okay. There's pictures of the other Peace Corps volunteers. This family had hosted previous Peace Corps volunteers. So I was the 3rd volunteer that they'd hosted, and they had pictures of the other volunteers and them on like family outings and stuff. So I was like, okay, cool, definitely in the right place. They seem very friendly, very nice. And then unpacked, and then kind of the rest of the family started trickling home. And then I met Gia, and Gia can speak English fluently. So I was like, oh my gosh, phew. Like it was a relief that there was somebody who I could more easily communicate with. But towards the end of my stay, I really did the IE. I guess IE isn't the word for grandma, but is it the word for grandma?
I'm not sure.
IE, it's like auntie or something.
Oh,
like,
okay.
It's auntie. Just like a catch-all almost for like any female who's like older than you.
IE, yeah.
IE, yeah. So I think her and I got really... I was tried to be so polite to her always, and I think she really liked me. And I got her flowers on my last day. So I think her and I definitely had a good relationship. Yeah, I really enjoyed staying with them. They were a great family. I still talk to them. The dad has an Instagram account, so him and I DM each other on Instagram, and he sends me pictures of Gabriel at school, and
Aww.
So he's keeping me posted on all that. And yeah, I definitely I know I lucked out. They were an amazing host family to stay with.
I met your host dad, I think, when we all went to that crazy, the giant, like the biggest mall,
the world's largest mall. We, by happenstance, by luck, my host family was like, we want to take you there. There's a really cool pool we can go to. It has a gigantic indoor water park. And I was like, okay, awesome. And then all my Peace Corps friends were also like, hey, well, let's go this day. And it was I literally was like, hey, guys. Yeah.
I was like, hey, WeChat group. Who wants to come to a water park?
And it was super fun. And my host dad went down all the slides with us.
He really did.
It was so fun. It was great. Yeah, I loved it.
I guess moving on to, let's say, site.
Yeah.
So I know you were in LaShawn. Tell us a little bit about, like, I guess, Beth, your site mate, and where you were located, your students, and just how that was for you.
So I was in the city of LaShawn in Sichuan province. LaShawn is maybe like a 45-minute bullet train south of Chengdu, so maybe like 100-something kilometers, I would say, south of Chengdu, which was the city where we had our training, and it's also the provincial capital of Sichuan. Massive city, like a full metropolis. And LaShawn's claim to fame is, besides its amazing food, it's very famous for its food, as all of Sichuan is, but it has the world's largest Buddha statue. The I want to say Mapu Tofu, but that's wrong. It's, oh my god, I forgot how to say it in Chinese, but it's the Lashan Giant Buddha in English. So every time people would visit me in Lashan, which was very frequent, I think I had probably one of the most visited sites, just because anytime anybody would come back to Chengdu for like medical or training, I'd be like, okay, come down to Lashan. It's a 45-minute train ride, and you'll see the world's largest Buddha statue, and it was beautiful. You could see it from my campus. It's like on the river, absolutely gorgeous. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site. So
I remember it was beautiful.
Yeah.
No, you had a beautiful site, dude. I remember like I liked that there was a train there first.
Yes, a bullet train. Bullet trains are amazing, and again, I feel like Sarah kind of had a bit of the Peace Corps travel experience I was envisioning for myself, and then me and most other volunteers were actually blessed with bullet trains. And
we didn't have a train.
Yes, Sarah and I think Liam had like sites that did not have train stations, but if you had a train station, you could get anywhere in like a couple hours. It was absolutely
a bullet
wild.
train, folks.
A bullet
Let's
train.
just put that, because there is a train.
Yeah.
It just is I have a bus, a slow bus, and then a slow train. But you couldn't get there. It took like at least like take a 6-hour bus to Anshun, and then I would take the bullet train to like get other places. But definitely a lot of books, a lot of journaling.
That's crazy. I had like a maybe 40-minute city bus ride through Lashan from my campus to the Gaotia station, and then I was on the Gaotia. I could go anywhere in China.
Must be nice.
It was
I'm kind of
very
jealous.
nice. I got to go to Lanzhou in Gansu. I got to go to Chongqing. Where else did I go? And Chengdu. I think those are really. Oh, I guess like other like.
He didn't come to
I did
Guizhou.
not go to Guizhou, unfortunately.
The best
but
province.
I went to Chongqing a lot. Went to Lanzhou once, and I went to other cities in Sichuan.
So how are your students in Lashan?
I
Or just like
was
teaching experience. I guess.
Sure. Lots of steps. I hit my fitness goal every day because Peace Corps is like, don't sit down, keep moving, look at what they're doing, walk through the room. So, lots of exercise. And my students were all going to be English majors, or they were all English majors. I think I had one translation major, so they were all a higher level. They had a higher level of English than probably most of the other Peace Corps volunteers got to experience. So I am very thankful for that, because I really think it helped, because I had a low Mandarin level. I was like intermediate low. So it was very helpful, like forming friendships and getting to know other people within my community, because so many people in my city had like a basic to advanced level of English already. So I was very happy about it.
What's like one of your favorite experiences or favorite stories from Lashan? I know that's really hard, but you can give me a few. Totally.
Favorite experiences in Peace Corps total, or just in Lashan?
Let's do both.
Okay. Oh, easy. It involves Mount Eme, which is one of the four, my understanding, it's one of the four sacred Buddhist mountains in China. And there's a like beautiful shrine on the top of the mountain, and I got to go to the mountain twice. The first time was with my friendship family in Lashan. It's a little bit different from my host family because I didn't live with them, but it was just, I had a friendship family and Beth had a friendship family, and typically the families would coordinate so that we could all do stuff together. And during, I believe it was my site visit actually, we got to go to the foothills, the very bottom of Mount Eme, and it's all like beautiful bamboo forest, and there's like a cultural practice there that we don't have in the US, or at least I've never experienced in the US, and I love it. It's when there's small shallow creeks, you bring a table and chairs, and you just put the table and chairs in the creeks, and you just plop down, you have your feet in the water, you're playing mahjong, you're like eating food, you're drinking tea. There's like typically some IE walking around with like green tea in like a big vat, and she's like pouring everybody cups of it, and you just chill, you just hang out, your feet are in the water, it's like ice cold water coming down from the mountain, and it was like, this
Sounds
was in
magical.
August. It was magical, it was beautiful, everything was in full bloom. Beth and I were getting to know each other, we're getting to know our host families, or our friendship family, sorry, and it was beautiful. And then fast forward to New Year's Eve, 2019 going into 2020, my counterpart, who is assigned to me to help me like navigate the school administration's bureaucracy, he took me and Beth and one of his friends to the top of Mount Ma. And Chengdu is in the Sichuan flood basin, so it's very low, it's surrounded by mountains on all sides, and it's like tropical year round. I feel like during the winter, the coldest it would get is like 50 degrees. So I saw no snow until New Year's Eve, and when we went to the very top of this mountain, we went above the cloud level, and it's just this beautiful temple complex on top of the mountain, and you're above the clouds, so you're looking out, and it's just clouds everywhere, and you can see like one other mountain, Mount Hongya, which I also got to go to on a different trip, and that's like the only thing that you can see above the clouds, and it's there's this giant golden statue made out of gold, and it's just like shining. It's like you've never seen anything more beautiful. It's like the bluest sky, white clouds, and then this giant gold statue and this golden temple, and it was breathtaking. And that was my New Year's Eve 2019 going to 2020, except we did this during the day, not at night. So
yeah, but cheers.
But yeah, Mount Ma, one of the best parts of being in Lashan, and I loved it.
I am so happy that I've become friends with Graham. I actually remember the first day when we became friends. I remember like it was like they gave us like a little like tour trip just to get to know all the other Peace Corps volunteers.
But we were at the giant panda research base the first time we really hung out, right?
Mm-hmm. You seem so cool. I'm like, I want to be your friend, and like I want to get to know you. Let's hang out today. And then like ever since then, best friend.
And we did. It was an absolute blast, and
We pet
very
baby
happy.
red
We
panda.
did. Famously, we were the only people who went to the red panda exhibit, and I still don't really know how it happened, but I think we took a wrong turn somewhere and ended up just on this random trail, and we got to touch red pandas because part of the trail, there's like holes like in the fence so they can get from one enclosure to the other, and they would just run through, and we were just standing there, and they'd like run on our feet. It was absolutely wild and so cool.
Oh my god. Sorry, I'm just looking at the pictures. This is beautiful.
It really was beautiful. It was so cold. It was so cold.
Oh my god, I can see the snow.
Yeah.
I'll post the pictures as well, everyone. But this is, wow. Friend, beautiful.
Of course.
I guess, moving on, what was one of, like, I guess, like, the biggest challenge that you faced when being a Peace Corps volunteer?
Totally. That's a great question, Sarah. Give me a moment
Yeah,
to think about it.
I'll grab my tea.
Okay, get your tea. Drink your tea. We're hanging out drinking tea right now. One of the most challenging things, I thought one of the most challenging things was going to be teaching, but once I got there, I think I realized that I loved doing it. I enjoyed it, and I think that made it a bit easier. I also think that as the semester went on, I got more feedback and I got better at it. And I also think that, I'm not sure if this is accurate or not, but the vibe was kind of like, from the administration and from other like teachers, it was like, we don't really care what you're teaching. It's just more like, we want our students to experience hearing and speaking with a native English speaker, and that's kind of really the point of you being here. And I'm like, totally cool, that I'm fine with that. So I think the more that was kind of like hinted at and less like you have to teach them how to use grammar properly. It was way more like you're there to just like put a face to the culture and the language and be like a resource for them. And I think that made teaching a lot easier.
So I totally agree with that. Like, I just remember getting there and I was like, oh, well, for one, I'm pretty sure I'm dyslexic. So trying to teach English.
I'm like, yeah, I can't spell anything. So I'm like, yikes.
But I remember literally like being like, oh God, I'm going to have so much anxiety trying to teach these students. And then once I was there, it was like, no, they want you to just practice. And then I just became friends with all these students, like teaching them like anywhere from like how to cook American breakfast food to like having dinner parties at my house and like, oh, we're gonna do little skits, don't be shy, give it a try. You know, that was like my famous saying. And like once you start doing it, I have a passion for teaching, and I think, you know, that's something like I would want to do for a career for sure.
Totally. I really feel like being a professor in the US one day could be really cool. Definitely an option to consider. And mine was, if you don't do it, you get 0 points. I'm like, so
Ooh,
participate,
harsh.
please. Yeah.
Was that an issue for you? Did your students not want to participate?
I think at first they were, because we obviously are encouraged to teach them in, I think, a more interactive way than sometimes they're exposed to prior to having a foreign teacher. Yeah, and I feel like participation at first was pretty difficult, and I would just have to randomly call in people. But towards the end of the semester, I was getting a lot more like volunteering. I think they were kind of expecting me. I feel like they had different expectations for me, and I think once they warmed up to me, they were like, okay, we can let loose a little bit. And I think they called me Mr. Graham in Mr. Graham's class. So, which I am very happy about, that they did kind of warm up to me in the end, and, you know, they were more willing to engage and take risks almost, if that makes sense. Not that it's anything risky, but like, you know, trying a new sentence, or, you know, it's like stuff like that. Putting themselves out there a little bit more, maybe. So,
were you a strict teacher in the beginning, or were you always chill?
I think I tried to be a strict teacher in the very beginning, and towards the end of the semester, I was talking about this with some of my students, and I was like, oh my gosh, I was so nervous on my first day. And they were like, yeah, we could tell. I was like, okay, cool, great. I was like, that makes me feel really good. Thank you. But I definitely was very nervous on the first day. But I think I really did get used to it. I also lucked out because I was teaching freshman and sophomore. So I didn't teach my first class until like September 15th or something. It was crazy.
Because they have, all the freshmen, just like a cultural fact in China, all the freshmen in China usually have like military training, correct?
Yeah, they have like a 2-week like drill sergeant training.
It's like mandatory. You're forced to go, and then like all the freshmen have to do it and like pass and like do all these exercises and like oh my God, I totally forgot about that, because I remember yes, I remember, because like I showed up, I was like, where are my freshmen?
Totally.
They're like, oh, they're not here, and I'm like, oh.
So I didn't do anything for the first month except for like lesson plan with Beth, and read a ton of books, which was very chill.
I guess moving on now, what about let's talk about evacuation. Let's evac.
COVID. We have our own designation. We're EPCPs.
Oh my God.
Evacuated Peace Corps volunteers.
That's
yeah,
so
did you
sad.
know that?
Cheers.
Cheers. I guess we're also RPCVs, but they call us EPCVs in the Peace Corps newsletters. I'm like, okay. That was crazy. It was very surreal. It was also very much, though, like an absolute adrenaline rush, but at the same time, like, you felt like you were kind of living through something crazy, but also you knew, like, I'm gonna be totally fine, because you had like the privilege of coming from somewhere else. You had the option of leaving, and you know that you had like the US government invested in getting you the fuck out of there, you know what I mean? So at no point was I like, oh my God, like I'm actually worried that we're not going to get out. But like, it was they had a plan. They activated the plan. The plan worked, and they got us all out of there in like 48 hours.
Yeah.
We got evacuated to Thailand. The Peace Corps regional headquarters is in Bangkok. So we landed. I think they staggered our flights, so we all landed at different times, but we all landed on the same day, I think. Yeah. So was it Guizhou and Sichuan landed together, and then I think like Chongqing and Gansu landed like maybe earlier in the day.
Yeah, because I came late. I remember that, and I remember like, I don't know, we didn't have that much time to pack then. Like you can only pack 10 pounds, and I was like, we coming back?
Totally. And some volunteers were on vacation, so
which
they
was
didn't
unfortunate.
bring any of their stuff. Yeah, I was thankfully at home. This was maybe like a week after IST, which was our inner service training. Is that what? Yeah, inner service training. So everybody had been in Chengdu. So I think several friends were back at my apartment visiting me when we got the word, and there was a couple like hints that it was coming. I think some staff kind of started reaching out and being like, hey, I need to know where you are. It's okay if you're breaking the whereabouts policy. I just need to know like where everybody is right now. And that was kind of like, raising some red flags in everybody's minds. Like, okay, because during IST, they had talked about the emerging information about the pandemic in Wuhan. Nothing had really happened yet. And then, as time went on, more and more info was coming out and things were escalating pretty quickly. They were also talking about Hong Kong, and I honestly thought that we were going to be evacuated because of what was going on in Hong Kong.
Yeah, no, for sure.
And then the pandemic kind of came out of nowhere and really overshadowed all of that. And I was so sure that we were going to be evacuated because of deteriorating relations with China over Hong Kong. And then really the pandemic overshadowed everything. So
I just remember prior to Peace Corps, I studied abroad in Wuhan. And I remember I had friends there, so I messaged like, hey, what's going on? They're like, we can't leave. No food can come in, like people are dying. And I'm like, oh my god, what the heck? And then like after like the next day, it's like, everyone, you're being evacuated. I remember like being scared and like I'm running on the track and I get that letter and I'm like, with a little email like ding, WeChat notification. I'm like, oh
totally. And at that point it was a weird time because the Lunar New Year had just ended, so there were lots of shops already closed. So it was like a ghost town. All the students were gone in my part of the city by the university. So a lot of the shops kind of closed for the holiday too because the students were gone, and it just felt so weird leaving because Didi, like the Uber service, was temporarily closed, and you had to hail like a physical cab. You couldn't actually call it Didi in Lashan.
Wow.
Yeah, it's one of like the pandemic prevention methods. And thank goodness there was a school administrator who was just outside at the same time. And he saw us, and he was like, he was actually the Y band of the school. So he was like the director of the foreign teachers, basically. And any like study abroad programs and whatnot. But he was like, oh my gosh, like, I heard you guys are going. He like hailed us a cab, told the cab driver to take us to the bullet train station, and totally different too from America's response. I feel like everyone, we got our temperature checked probably 15 times on our way to Chengdu. Anytime we walked out of something and walked into something, temperature checked. People checking our temperatures were in hazmat suits. I remember getting to Chengdu, there was a Walmart. We're like, okay, we should get water bottles, we should get some snacks. Like, Walmart's really easy to navigate for us because it's a little bit more familiar than like other places. So I was like, Walmart, let's get water. And they checked our temperature walking into Walmart. You know what I mean? I'm like, they would never check temperatures walking into a Walmart in the US. You know what I mean? So, yeah, so I think part of the evacuation was just also seeing how other places handled their pandemic response and how radically different it was from the US's.
I feel that because like I remember everyone, well, like I feel like everyone wears masks in general. Like they're very like conscientious of like just like what's good for the greater good. And if I feel like I'm being ill, like coming down with something, or I feel ill, I'm gonna wear a mask. And that's just like a normal thing. It's like, oh, I'm sick. I'm trying to make sure no one else gets sick. Mask. Oh, Xinyi was beautiful. There was really no air pollution. But like in Chengdu, for instance, like when the air pollution
Horrible air pollution.
Ooh, big yikes. But yeah, like you'd wear a mask when you'd see that the air pollution was, 150, 100.
It was crazy. We had to have air filters in our apartments on at all times.
No, for sure. But like, I just remember when COVID first came about, like everyone had a mask on, and I remember like we had curfews in Xinyi, and then like I would look from my window and they'd be bleaching the streets with like bleach water, and then making sure everything's clean every night, and they'd come by, make sure no one's outside, and just cleaning everything over and over again. Like they really did not want it to spread. And well, not that America wanted it to spread, but like it was very, I don't know, because there's a lot of like, oh, the China disease and like all this like terrible things that people say about China, and it's like they did not want it to spread. And like I know firsthand, like we live there. It's like
Totally.
They want what's better for the community, wants what's better for like the greater group of like the whole, So it's just crazy when like all that like kind of like propaganda came up, being like, oh, they don't care, they're spreading. It's like, no, like people were trying to rush home and get back to their families, and like we're being incredibly cautious, and like everywhere you went, temperature check, exactly what you were saying, Graham. Like,
Totally.
I don't know. So I guess finishing off, I don't know if you have any final stories you'd like to just share? Anything that really sticks out to you?
I think one of the things that sticks out the most, well, obviously everything.
Yeah.
Everything was important. Every day was something new, and
no, definitely
an absolute. I don't want to use the word adventure because that makes it sound like, I don't know, but
it was though. I feel like it really was like every day was like such a learning experience.
Every day pushed you in like a new way, but in a way that you were prepared to handle. You know what I mean? I'm like, whether it was interacting with somebody on the street that just like pushed you out of your comfort zone in like language level, or like cultural understanding level, or just like a social level, that was awesome. Like professional development, both as I guess a teacher, which is just a cool skill to know, and being able to like translate that into new roles and new leadership opportunities, and whatever job you have in the future. Just every day was memorable. So I think it's really hard to choose specific moments, but some do come to mind. When we celebrated Christmas in Chongqing, me and one of my really good friends, Annika, took a bus. Yes, she's fun. She's very fun. We took a bus I took the bullet train to her city, Ibin, and then she was the nearest Peace Corps volunteer to me and Beth. And then we took a bus from there, and I just remember getting into Chongqing, and we go to our friend Teddy's house. Teddy always hosted us. He had like a 4-bedroom apartment or something. Just the way the apartment allocation worked at his school, they assume that like all the teachers are gonna be married and have kids, so he got this like huge apartment, and obviously he was living by himself, so he would host us every time we would come into town, and he had a bag of like Christmas decorations from previous Peace Corps volunteers. There's like a cultural practice among the Peace Corps community that when you leave site, you try and leave as much as you can for the next person to come in and take over your spot. So you really do accumulate lots of like useful and fun stuff that just like reminds you of home, and it's a very cool practice. And there was all these like Santa hats and like reindeer antlers and stuff. So we just like put them on, and we like walked around the city that day and just like kind of celebrated Christmas, and it was really fun. I feel like a lot of people in China don't really celebrate Christmas, but they know of it. And obviously we were all people who were clearly American, I think, and they kind of figured we were we were celebrating Christmas, and they were all getting a kick out of it. We were getting a kick out of it. It was very fun. We went to a hot pot place. And we sang the 12 Days of Christmas for the restaurant. The restaurant loved it, I hope.
Oh my God, I love that.
It was very cute. It was very fun. It was kind of like a karaoke situation, and we just improv sang the 12 Days of Christmas. That instance really stands out in my memory. A lot of the travels stand out in my memory, and yeah, but honestly, every day I feel like was something memorable happened every day. If it was me finding a plant store, me finding a coffee shop, me, getting to know a student better, getting to know a coworker better, and also we were only there for 8 months, so I really feel like had we been there for 2 years, maybe some of those moments would have kind of faded in importance, but because we were there for a relatively short time, I feel like every day was a great memory, if that makes sense. And I really didn't have any low points looking back on it. Maybe I did have low points at the time, but I'm just not thinking of them right now. But Sarah and I are holding hands right now. Love you.
I love him.
It was a great time, and I would recommend Peace Corps service to anyone who's even remotely considering it.
I agree. It really did change my life for the better. And like I've met people who are just literally your Peace Corps family.
Totally.
And like I love all my other, people in my cohort, the cohort before me. So, is there one thing that you were really happy that you packed for Peace Corps?
Oh, great question. My iPad. My iPad was my lifeline. I really used it to download a ton of books right before I left, and I feel like that was something I going into it, you hear, if you read blogs and stuff from like other Peace Corps volunteers who are serving in your country, that's a really good way to gauge the amount of downtime you'll have, because sometimes in some programs you're going to have downtime. And going into it, I knew that it was likely I was going to have downtime, summer breaks, and like weekends and stuff, and you can't travel. And I knew that I really wanted to read a lot of books when I was there, so the iPad really helped me do that. And that's probably what I'm really happy is that I packed. I feel like we got very lucky being placed in China, and anything we needed, clothes-wise, food-wise, we could buy there, which was good. Yeah.
And I guess my final question for you, friend, is would you join Peace Corps again?
Yes. Right when we got back, before we really knew how long the pandemic was going to last, I was applying for and accepted to do a return to Peace Corps program in Ukraine. That obviously did not happen, but I was willing to go back and do it again, and I think I still am. Maybe in the future you might catch me back out there, but for now, happily back in Chicago. I really love my new job. I want to keep doing this for a couple of years, but I definitely think Peace Corps is possibly in my future again. So
I love to hear it.
Yeah, better come with me.
We'll just pretend we're married.
Perfect.
All right, and I guess this is the end. I'll let Grandma close for us.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Sarah, thank you for hosting this and putting this project together. I appreciate it.
So thanks for diving in, and
再见.
再见.